Welcome to Biz Help for You with host Candy Messer. Entrepreneurs like to focus on the big picture, like profitability, success, and a smooth-running organization. But there always seems to be those little things like taxes, employee compensation, laws, regulations, and more. Now you can get the answers you need in one place. Join us today as we break it all down for you. Now, here's your host, Candy Messer.
Hello and welcome to Biz Help for You with Candy Messer. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the topic of our last episode, planning for retirement as a business owner. If you are unable to join us and would like to listen to the show, links can be found on our YouTube and Facebook pages, as well as multiple favorite podcast platforms. And if you'd like to receive notifications on when our podcasts have been uploaded, please like and subscribe. Now let's learn a little bit about our guest today. Jonathan is on a mission to decimate no-show appointments. After running an appointment-based business for a decade, he co-founded Go Reminders, which increases business revenue and cuts wasted staff time with automated appointment reminders and online booking. Jonathan runs growth and marketing for Go Reminders and loves helping small businesses with automation and communication. So, Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Candy.
I'm glad to have you here. This is a topic that is going to be interesting. We haven't had this discussion in all the years that I've had this podcast yet. So before I get into the topic, though, I have for you, I'd love for you to tell me just a little bit more about yourself and how did you become involved in this industry?
Yeah, I've had a lot of experience as a small business owner throughout the years in a few different ways, and started a bunch of businesses and had a bunch of ideas, and this is basically one that took off. So just like looking at solving problems. I have a computer science degree, but I've mostly gone the business route throughout my career, and my co-founder on this has a jazz trumpet degree and has mostly gone the engineering route. And so he does the coding and I do the marketing, and we have a small team that helps us. And that's about it. But just building something. Look, we're looking for something to build that solves a problem related to saving businesses time and increasing revenue. And so this was a need.
Perfect. Of course, we all know as business owners that, we want to make sure things are streamlined, and things that maybe we can offload or find automation to make things a little bit easier are always helpful for us. So I know this is going to be an interesting, topic to discuss. And there's two sides of the coin. Obviously, there's, if someone misses an appointment on the client side, and then there's the business side. So let's talk first about what is the issue for a client if they're missing an appointment.
Yeah, so there are part of the problem is that there's such a wide variety of reasons that cause no-shows. And so it could be that the person is ambivalent about the appointment and just doesn't want to show up. It could be that they really do want to show up, but they messed up their calendar. It could be an emergency came up. All sorts of things. It could be something that they meant to cancel, but they didn't have the right the moment to get in touch with the business to cancel a few days ahead of time. And so then, oh crap, it's just like, it's happening right now. Let me call and let them know I can't be there. So it's just, it's such a wide range of things that it's really hard to tackle the why with one answer because there's so many answers.
Well, and if they really did intend to have that meeting and they just forgot, right? They didn't put it on the calendar, or again, something came up.
Right.
Now we're in the issue of, now we have to go through the rescheduling again. And if it's something that's a little bit more urgent than not urgent, it could cause some issues there as well.
Absolutely. So it's just, and you can, if it's a business that relies on that person showing up, the chances that person will just not be a client or customer in the future, either if it's closing a deal, lowers the chances of closing a deal, or just, service business like a haircut. If someone is going in for haircuts, like if they miss one, they go too long, then they go to someone else, and you might lose them as a client entirely. And so it's not necessarily just the business from that one appointment, but really like the entire future that it decreases the chances of longevity of the like lifetime of that client.
Right. Well, on the other side is business owners, right? If we have someone who misses an appointment with us, it can cause all kinds of issues to not just the income, but of course that's a top one. But what are some of the issues on the business owner side if something is canceled?
Yeah. So, if something's canceled or if it's a late show or, often a late show isn't necessarily someone who is running late, but it could be someone who forgot until too close to the appointment to get there. And then they're running late and then they need to push it back. And then the business can end up extending their day. And then it's just sort of this, like, it's like traffic. It's like traffic, starts to build up and then it like, oh, there's no traffic. And then like once it builds up, it just like it really builds up.
Right.
And so if you run your day like that, then it's like, okay, I can squeeze you in here, and then it delays the next thing and the next thing, so on and so forth. So it's really just chaos. And then if you try to tackle it by manually reminding people, that ends up being either an additional staff position or a lot of time. And then this sort of middle ground can be really frustrating of being like, oh, I try to text my customers ahead of time, but then this day I didn't, and then I got a no-show. And on the days that they don't all, like, it doesn't solve 100% of the problem, so why am I even doing it, and this and that and the other. So there's a lot of angst and agitation around the appointment no-shows in general.
I can think of a couple situations where it would be even more of an issue than others. Like for instance, if someone misses a call with me, it's not as much of an issue per se, right? Because I can generally reschedule, a call or something, and I don't have myself completely booked like every hour of every day. But like a doctor's office, right? If someone is running late, or they cancel, but I think more of the issue of they forgot and now, oops, I have to hurry up and get there, and they squeeze them in and it backs everything up. It's not just the business and the client that are affected, but those who are now delayed because they're
patients
waiting, right? And then it causes your frustration with your doctor's office or things like that too. So I think although they're trying to fit that person in, now you've got other people who are really frustrated, and it probably happens as, throughout the day, it gets longer and longer of a wait.
100%. Yeah. And just, so that happens with a lot of different businesses, even, auto, with not necessarily like, so there's no shows and then there's just organizing your appointments. We have one customer who, really popular auto body shop, and they would have customers lined up at the beginning of the day to try to get their car taken care of, and then they would be able to take some of them, but like the others would be waiting, and then they would just peel off throughout the time, and then they would never come back. And so it's the same thing with delays. Like if you have people sitting there waiting, like after a while people will be like, well, I have to get to my next thing, so then they might be a no-show inadvertently as well.
Well, even for my business, if something happens like that, then it does throw a kink into things, because then I have to rearrange my schedule so I could fit someone in, because I do have a lot of things on the calendar. But I just see that it could be for a certain industry or industries a little bit more of an issue than for others.
Definitely.
So if we're trying to avoid this whole problem altogether, like what is the best way that we can communicate with clients regarding their appointments?
Sure. So, it's kind of a broad question that has a few different facets. So one is like what medium to communicate through. And so there's basically phone call, text message, email. There's also postcards, things like that. But with phone call, I would say that's a really bad way to do a reminder message, because you're training people to not pick up your call. You're training people to just send it to voicemail, and you might actually need to get someone on the phone. Like, oh crap, I can't make it today. I need to get in touch with this person and make sure that they know our office is closed, or like I can't show up to that, real estate showing today. And I want to make sure that they know to not show up so I don't waste their time. And so that's perfect time for a phone call, as opposed to my former dentist, who was so sweet and his receptionist was so wonderful, but I would get a call from her a few days before and I'd be like, oh man, look, something must be happening. They must need to reschedule. And it's like, just reminding you of your appointment. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get back to that conference call that I was just on and that I interrupted just to pick up my dentist call. Now I know I will just let it always go to voicemail. But so not phone call. And I would say text message and email. Email can convey a lot more info, and people can reference it if you need additional details. Text message is, such a high chance that someone will read it. And so that's the way to make sure someone sees it. I can go for a day for my personal email or more not seeing my personal email. So if it's only through email, that can often get missed. Whereas a text reminder, yeah. So that's the medium. And then, then there's the timing of it and what to say. And on the timing front, it's basically, we recommend asking for confirmation at the closest point in time to the appointment that allows you enough time to rebook an open slot. So if that's, you need 3 days to make sure you can book an open slot, then ask people for confirmation at day 3 or day 4. And so that, because people will need to reschedule, they'll say, oh man, I've been meaning to get in touch with you. And it's better to find that out at 3 or 4 days than an hour before. So giving them an option to confirm can also show you the disengaged people. If you use a system that keeps track of those things, you could just then manually call or reach out to the people who haven't confirmed to double check that they're going to be there. And then, but a reminder an hour before or 2 hours before can help prevent just the random, oh, I forgot it, it's such a busy day thing. And that one you don't want to ask for confirmation, because you're giving them a potential out way too close, and you won't be able to fill that.
Right. Well, I'm thinking as you're talking, like from the business perspective, you want to have an efficient process, right? So sending it one way is the most efficient, it seems like. But then on the other side of the coin, we kind of have to consider whether it's a generational thing or if it's just preferences. Like someone might still prefer that phone call because they don't text, or someone may still prefer an email. So how do you figure out what is still best for your business, but still giving the customer what they need or want for their method?
Yeah. So we are definitely against phone call reminders. So with our software, we don't do that. But there are places that do phone call reminders. The other thing is we rarely get requests for phone call reminders, occasionally, but text messages are just so pervasive nowadays that it's sort of in my mind, anyone who doesn't use text messages is probably really up on their paper schedule. That is unlikely to be a no-show because they're like really old school. They're keeping their things organized. Anyone who's needing help is probably getting text messages. So that's why, and in our software, it's basically just like text, email, both or none. And so a lot of people just click both for their customers. And so then it gets sent out via email and text.
Well, I'm thinking like of my mom, for example, right? She doesn't really have a cell phone. I think she might have one like for an emergency, but it doesn't have like a plan. She doesn't text anything. Totally. And so she does have her little calendar, right, where she'll put her appointments on there. And she does they do phone reminders, which can go to a voicemail, and then she'll have that reminder. But for someone like that, right, we still have where text is not going to be useful at all. Maybe email.
Yeah, and there are systems out there that do phone call reminders. And so it really depends on the business. And it's really like reminders aren't even good for certain businesses. Certain businesses, like certain type of insurance sales, we have insurance people using Go Reminders and they love it. But I know there's certain like door-to-door insurance that you don't want to remind someone that you're going to their office because they might be like, oh, I can't make it. I can't, but you just want to show up. So if that's the case, like, that's the situation, no reminder. In other ones, if it's something where people feel like I really need that, there are platforms out there that do phone call reminders, and so that is totally doable. And if it's a low volume, you certainly manually do it. With the confirmation process, you can also call. You have a list basically. If you have 10 appointments the next day and your system automatically asks for confirmation, then you'll have a list of anyone who didn't confirm, and so those could be your ones to manually give a call to. Maybe there's 1 or 2 a day that you say, okay, they didn't confirm yet, let me give them a call, make sure they got the message, things like that. And also, another aspect of just like how to remind people is just to make sure that the value is clear in your reminders of the appointment, especially if it's not something super straightforward like a haircut. If it's something like a sales call, to say like, at this meeting we're going to go over XYZ, and at the end of the call, like, this is the goal of that call. Reinforcing that value and that reminder it does a lot to increase show up rates, because just a regular, even that is not going to solve a problem where people are not showing up because they don't want to go to the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But that will help get some people more motivated for those meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another aspect of no-shows, is just to be aware that, if you're not communicating value, if people don't want to get to these Zoom calls or in-person meetings with you, all the reminders in the world aren't going to help with that.
Right. Exactly. So from your perspective, then what is a strategy then using, I assume, a system like this that's going to actually help increase their revenue and their sales?
It's a lot of what I've talked about, is basically figuring out, like, I view an automated reminder system as sort of a crystal ball to be able to see into the future at who is going to no show, because for sure people will have to cancel. And so it's really important to be able to know that, a few days ahead of time, with enough time to fill your schedule, as opposed to an hour before. And so if you have the system set up where you have your reminder messages dialed in terms of the value of it and the timing, giving you enough time to fill those slots, what it ends up doing is, like, extending their lifetime value with your business in so many ways. So and meanwhile, so, like, they're super happy when they get the reminders in general. They're also relieved if they get the reminder and they have to cancel when it's ahead of time, because they feel like, okay, great, I did this business a favor because I was able to do it. And they're, like, really happy. They're not tentative of, oh man, I messed up, the business hates me, should I really go back to that person, should I not, and this and that. It's like all this friction that really get the process of reminding and getting people to appointments smooth. It can dramatically increase your revenue from your clients. If someone's coming in monthly for a haircut, if they miss a couple months throughout the year, that, what is that? Almost 20% of the revenue, 17 or so percent of your revenue for that client. If that happens on a lot of clients, that's a lot of revenue that's missed just by not getting people to show up for regular appointments. And so, but with a system in place that you can automate this, it's going to all your clients. You don't have to worry, oh shoot, did I do my reminders today? Like, it's taken care of. You just use it for your calendar. The reminders get sent automatically. People confirm when they say, nope, I can't make it. You have enough time to say, okay, cool, I have a wait list, or this person wanted to get in, let me get that filled. And so it's not only that you're able to reschedule that person who needs to cancel, but you're also able to slot someone in to that spot. And so that's why it can dramatically increase revenue. And when it comes to sales, things like insurance that I mentioned, the cost, if you're looking at your cost of acquiring a new customer, and maybe you're advertising and they're like explicit costs, and then just your time, getting people to show up for each meeting in that series to get through to close a deal, or real estate, like having a consultation, getting the listing finalized, getting the listing in place, having a meeting with a seller, the buyer, like all these steps, the inspection, all this stuff, the more you can increase your show up rates there, the more you can increase your close rate and decrease your cost of acquiring new customers. Because, if you're getting these leads and they're dropping off in the middle of the process just because of no-shows, then that can be a huge drain on revenue.
Right. One of the things I was thinking of, and this doesn't work for a lot of things, right? Like if you have to see your dentist or you have a haircut or something, you have to be in person. But I was thinking maybe having a backup plan. Like if you're supposed to have a sales meeting with somebody, and, we all know with the pandemic and stuff, people are still getting exposed to COVID, and, they might have to cancel last minute, even if they don't want to, maybe having a backup plan where, well, we were going to meet in person, but let's get on a video call, then you can at least save the appointment that way.
Absolutely. And having a two-way communication avenue. So a lot of products out there that are scheduling products and not so focused on the reminders will have one-way notifications. And so, there'll be all sorts of limitations, like you can only send one reminder, and you can't say what, customize what it says. But a major problem is that the person can't reply. And sometimes they'll get an error saying, nope, your message wasn't delivered. Other times it won't even get an error message. So imagine getting a reminder for an appointment, replying back to the text saying, oh, I need to reschedule, and not getting any response back saying it's an error. You now, as the customer, think you've notified the business. The business never hears about that. And it's and then, so it's even more frustration, confusion, anger, and resentment that can form to potentially, like, just, split that business relationship. And so really providing that avenue. So using a system that does allow replies to get delivered to the business is crucial, because people, even if it says replies to you to confirm, they'll send something like, yep, I'll be there. And if you don't have a system that sends you replies, that could just get lost. And so similarly, oh, I can't make it, things like that, instead of R to reschedule or whatever, like you want to make sure that you get those messages, and having an interface to then just go, okay, cool, how about this date? Or here's my booking link. To have that two-way communication can really speed things up. With appointment scheduling. I've waited days or a week after I've gotten text reminders from a dentist or places that I can't respond to call the business, and then it just gets closer and closer and closer to the appointment. And I'm like, I tried replying, but I couldn't, and I was in meetings, and I meant to call, but I can't make it. And you would have found that out a week ago if I could just reply and things like that. Yeah.
As a patient, what I would get sometimes is a text reminder that says your appointment is, in 2 days. And if something did come up, which rarely happens with me, but if it did and I needed to reschedule, there was no way for me to do so directly in that app. I had to call. So that is one thing I know that is frustrating from a patient perspective. So, what would you say regarding that issue?
Yeah, so I think that is a major problem. It assumes that everyone will show up. That kind of system is just trying to tackle the issue of people forgetting, not the issue of people actually might have a legitimate conflict. And so it's really important to be able to get those responses, because again, no shows can have all these different reasons for happening, and many of the reasons are that people actually can't make it to that appointment even if they're reminded. And so that's the main reason to make sure that there's an option to reschedule, because people and to ask ahead of time enough so that you can know to fill that spot, and to also keep that relationship so that you can get that person rebooked at a time that works for them and you.
Right. So in terms of the systems that are available, obviously I know that you have one, but in terms of this booking software that we might want to use as appointment reminders, like what are some of the things that as a business owner we should consider that are the options that we need to have?
Sure. Yeah. So I think one is that two-way communication feature. Another one is that you can customize what the reminder messages say, and that you can customize when they are sent. Because we have a customer who can fill a slot in 2 hours. And so that's fine for them to know, hey, are you still going to make it? I just need to know, because they can call up someone else and be like, hey, I can fill this spot. A lot of other people can't do that. And so you really need to know your business to figure out what that window is for you. And so a lot of software out there will only let you send one text reminder. It won't let you customize what it says, and it'll only set it at a specific time. Others will allow you to send one reminder, not customize it, but they will let you set when it goes out. Another system I actually recently was testing to try to figure out their functionality. Their system has so many quirks that if you have to, it has so many different rules that, let's say I tried to create a test appointment for 25 hours from now. And then the reminder was set to go 24 hours and it didn't come. And I contacted support and they said, oh, you have to set it 26 hours ahead of time in order for it to do it. And it was just like, wow. So looking for a system that you can test, that you can immediately see, is this working the way I expect it to? And they also told me, by the way, if the person has 2 appointments the same day, like I see you created 2 appointments, they'll still only get 1 text reminder that day, and it will only mention their first appointment. And so, some of if multiple services, you might split it into multiple appointments. So just looking for a system that is simple, easy to use, easy to implement, good customer support, and has these basic functionality features of two-way texting and customizable schedule and customizable message. Those are the most important things.
Right. Well, I know we're running short on time now, so I do want to ask if you have an offer that you would like to share and how our listeners can connect with you if they want more information.
Yeah, sure. So we have a 14-day free trial. So you can just go to goreminders.com to try that out. And I'm also happy to provide a demo of our software for anyone who would like it. We don't usually do demos. It is we try to make our software as easy to use as possible. And you can, self-serve, free trial. But if anyone wants to have a demo, just chat us in on our website and we'll set up a time to do a live Zoom demo for you and show you all the ins and outs and getting you set up with Go Reminders.
Perfect. And is there like a website, phone number, social media, any of that you want to share?
Yeah, just goreminders.com. All our social media is linked on the bottom. But if you want to get in touch with me personally, if I can be of any assistance with helping anyone's small business out there, I'm happy to help. You can find me on LinkedIn if you just Google my name and Go Reminders, and also Instagram. I'm on there, so feel free to DM me wherever you'd like, and or if you chat on our website and say, hey, I heard Jonathan on the podcast and I want to talk to him directly about something, feel free to do that and I will get the message.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Jonathan, for being a guest on my show and sharing your expertise in this area. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's been great to be here.
And I want to thank you, the listener, for tuning in as well. I hope you found this topic interesting and that it answered some questions about how to get your clients to show up for appointments or sales calls. If you have any additional questions or comments, be sure to reach out to Jonathan with the links he shared or send us a message at media@abandp.com. I hope you can join us for our next episode. Grow your revenue with a smart digital marketing strategy. And please remember, you can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And my website is abandp.com. You can also find the podcast posted on multiple podcast platforms, including iTunes, Google, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. And would you please share our show with those you know and leave a review on your favorite platform? I'd really appreciate your support. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next time. Have a terrific day.